Greetings and blessed day to you once again, people of God. It's me, the Revelator, once again, and hoping the grace of our Lord Jesus Christ has been with you. Welcome to the deepest lecture in sexual intimacy with the Revelator. And I hope everyone that is listening to my voice right now, you are a married couple. If it may so happen that you are not a married person and you are going to hear this lecture, just know that whatever teaching that you are going to be hearing from this lecture is not meant for you, because I'm going to be very deep in explaining sexual intimacy in all angles that the devil does not allow to be addressed, but allows those angles to be addressed in the world. So before I get into the presentation of the day, I just want to remind you that previously we shared quite a number of informative presentations which I'm not going to briefly highlight, and today we want to focus on the deep sexual lecture, a deep sex lecture, the highest level of intimacy. So it's going to be explained in the spirit. For us to understand more on this lecture, let's get into scriptures. In the book of 1 Corinthians chapter 7 verse 1, and it reads, "Now concerning the things whereof you wrote unto me, it is good for a man not to touch a woman. Nevertheless, to avoid fornication." The moment it says to avoid fornication, it's addressing the married and also addressing the single. "Nevertheless, to avoid fornication, let every man have his own wife, and let every woman have her own husband. Let the husband render unto the wife due what is meant for her, and likewise also let the wife also give to the husband what is due. The wife has no power over her own body, but the husband, and likewise also the husband has no power over his own body but the wife." Welcome to the deep sex lecture. In the passage that I've just read there, it has been made evident that you, wife, your body is not for your own self. You possess that body as a spirit being. After God has breathed into your nostrils the breath of life, and likewise you, husband, that body is not completely yours even after God has breathed the breath of life into your nostrils. Therefore, your body as a couple is designed for both of your satisfaction, meaning that it's number one priority as a couple to update each other in the area of satisfaction, to caution each other in the area of sexual intimacy, to remind each other to sit down to talk about your sexual life, because I believe that there is no sexual life that begins in the bedroom. Every level of sexual maturity, every quality standard of a sexual life does not begin in the bedroom. It begins through a conversation. And what type of conversation? A sexual, emotional conversation designed between a couple, meant to bring that bond or that closeness in terms of intimacy. So before we even talk about the actual sexual intimacy, the first level of intimacy is having a love conversation. And without a love conversation, there is no dialogue between a couple that can revive sexual feelings. The type of discussions that you have as a couple, they determine your sexual life, intimacy, the level of vibration, the level of intimate connection. It is enhanced by the way you communicate. You cannot expect a good quality sexual life with your partner when your minds are not clicking. Even if your husband touches you any area that is sensitive, that is meant to trigger your sexual feelings, and yet there is a communication between you and your husband, there is no feeling that is going to be activated. To you males out there, you husbands, I want you to know that a woman's feeling is not inside the sexual feelings. It is inside her emotions. And though sexual feelings are found inside emotions, and what type of emotions? We are not talking about the emotions of sex, but we are talking about the emotions of a love conversation, the emotions of love making. The emotions of love making are not the same as the emotions that are found inside the sexual hormones. Therefore, when you are reaching out to a woman, you should know that a woman does not react or respond like a man. A man's feelings are not inside the heart, they are inside the hormones. But not meaning that a man does not have love for his wife, but I'm explaining according to how the makeup of a man was created by God. This is why a man is moved by looking at, and a woman has to be convinced by a man emotionally, and that consists of a love making process through the dialogue and conversation. Meaning that as a man, you have to go through again the same process that you went through the very day that you proposed to your wife. When we are talking about intimacy at another level of emotional connection. Therefore, you ladies, you women, you should know that a man's feeling is activated. The feelings of a man need to be triggered. They need to be activated too. The fact that a man's penis must erect, it means a man needs to be made ready by a wife. I hope someone is understanding what I'm saying. Without any activation inside a man, there is a deactivation that happens to his penis, meaning that an erection can only happen when a man has been triggered, meaning that as a wife you need to create an environment that is necessary for a sexual intimacy to happen. And after you have created that necessary environment as a woman, you have created also the atmosphere that is necessary for sex to happen. Just like there is a necessary precaution that is required when two people that are not yet married are having sex, and they are having what is called illegal sex. They use protection. That is a precaution. But this one is not a precaution. This one is a guideline that is meant to be taken by women. You have to create the atmosphere. And after you have created the atmosphere, sometimes you create the environment by making your husband the best meal that he has always desired to have, or the best meal that you actually know that he enjoys. It doesn't have to be something that you eat every day, but it has to be something that draws his attention as a man to see the difference between yesterday and today. And sometimes you can even decorate the table. You can even use lights that are not flashing bright but dim lights, and you put those red candles in your presence. All this, you are creating a necessary environment that will create the right positive atmosphere for sex to happen without any interruption from unnecessary thoughts. You are drawing the thoughts of your husband to be fixed in the right place at the right time. And then you create the conversation, a conversation that is applicable and relevant to the sex that is about to happen. Don't rush things. Look at each other in the eyes while you are talking, while you are discussing. This is the moment that you need to be in a different environment. If you have kids, it means your kids are not supposed to be an interruption. It's supposed to be the two of you as a couple, because sex is not just an activity. It is a moment. It is a feeling. It is a bonding. Therefore, your minds must have a mental connection, and that connection will trigger the required feelings for both of you to have the first step into romance. And it's not always the woman that is supposed to make the first move, or it's not always the man that is supposed to make moves. And usually you know that it's men that always make the first move. So what I'm trying to say is, you wife, you are also allowed to make that first move by touching your husband. And this stage now is when you will have gone to the bedroom. But before you go to the bedroom, you have to sit close to your husband. You have a way of teasing your husband with your eyes. Your eyes are able to communicate with your husband that this is now the moment. You are provoking the feelings and activating the sexual emotions of your husband. There are so many ways to do it. You can kiss your husband on the neck. You can slide your hands down your husband's back. There are so many ways of reaching out to your husband, and one thing will lead to the other, and you are now standing, both of you, on your 2 feet. And you, husband, you should know that you must start kissing your wife on her neck. That is one of the most sensitive areas that a woman needs to be kissed. Without rushing, kiss nice and slow until you reach her lips. Do not kiss in a hungry manner that shows that you are rushing for sex, but kiss her lips smoothly, nice and slow, without any rush. Continue kissing downwards until you reach her breast tits. But at this very point of time, you know that both of you are still dressed. It means you have to unbutton your wife nice and slow. Like I said earlier, there is a difference between sex, which is penetration, and there is a level of sex, which is love making. At this level, you are doing love making. You are far from penetrating her. You unbutton your wife nice and slow. She's supposed to start producing those nasty sounds, those sounds that communicate back to you that your wife is feeling something, in a very quiet environment, because this is just between the two of you in the bedroom. Start licking and sucking her breast tits, exchanging both sides. Kiss your wife in the middle, right in the middle between her breast tits. Continue licking and kissing her breast tits, and slide your tongue downwards. It means at this very point of time, you are going downwards as if you are kneeling down, and you start to push down, to bring down her jeans. She might be wearing jeans, or she might be wearing something that is light. It could be a skirt. Pull it down nice and slow while it's kissing her tummy, her belly. You can even lick it. Go downwards. She will start to tremble and shake in the process. Then you pause a little bit. Then you go upwards again until you reach the neck again, and start giving her some soft love bites without even putting much force. Start kissing deep and undress her until she's completely naked. But before she even reaches the level of being completely naked, it means your wife now only has her red pants. That is my imagination. She's probably wearing her red pants with laces. Slide your hands right inside and start tampering with the clit. And when you're tampering with the clit, you have a way of doing it. You don't start by fingering her. You tamper with the clit first. You rub it nice and slow. Continue rubbing that clit nice and slow until your wife is completely wet. And then you start fingering her. And when you are fingering her, don't do it very fast. Do it nice and slow. You feel that she's becoming breathless. She's losing energy. And now this is the point of time you have to lay down your wife on the bed. Lay her down. Don't push her to the bed. Help her lie down on the bed. And you continue fingering her whilst you are licking her breast teeth and sucking them. And you start kissing even deeper than before. And this time, you remove those red pants with the laces, and you open her legs wide. After opening her legs wide, this is my instruction for you, husband, because now you are in control. Open her legs wide. And remember, before all this happened, both of you had a bath, a very clean bath. You open her legs wide and start licking and sucking her mercilessly, nice and slow, until she's moaning and groaning. She's yawning. She's opening her mouth wide. She can't express herself. She's calling your name out, and she's completely wet. And you can now see that your wife is ready for penetration. Then you unbutton yourself, remove every cloth that you are wearing as a man. At that very point of time, it's also obvious that as a man, you have erected at another extreme level. Allow your wife to rub your chest with her soft hands. Your wife, start touching your man's penis. Start sucking and licking that penis. It's not a sin. Remember, this is between two people that are married. Lick it and suck it. Go there to your husband's neck. Start using your tongue right round his neck. Rub his chest. And instead of the man being the one that takes charge because he was earlier in control, no, you turn your man the other way around, and he is the one facing upwards. And at that very point of time, it means the penis is hard and erected and facing upwards. And this is the point of time as a wife, as an energetic wife, as a wife that is active. Get on top of your husband. Ride that penis nice and slow. Do not exert speed, but exert effort. Do not accelerate speed, but accelerate and maintain a certain speed, nice and slow. Whilst you are stroking in and out, and your husband is lying there facing upwards, do not do it very fast, because there is a probability that he might produce earlier before you have even reached climax and before he has fully enjoyed. So you do it nice and slow while you are kissing your husband. There is a specific point of time that your husband, you have to turn the tables around and switch a position immediately, and your wife goes down to the same position that your husband will positioned. This is the time that you, as the husband, you have to soak in with what I call a deep set, whereby you go very deep, you penetrate so deep to the extent that you can feel your wife making those deep moaning sounds, and you continue stroking deeper and deeper, nice and slow. This is the point of time again you have to now accelerate some little bit of speed, as the friction will be now producing some fluids that will be produced in the process. Continue accelerating the speed at another level. Do not stop. And you can tell that this is the point of time that your wife is now enjoying, And if you continue at that constant speed, she might come. Switch the position again. It's now time for you to stroke and penetrate your wife from the back. This is the moment that you have to do rough sex. And when I'm saying rough sex, I don't mean you are supposed to bully your wife in bed. No, I don't mean you are supposed to break the bed. Do that rough sex of stroking in and out at the highest rate of a fast frequency, because she's already wet and she's needing and wanting more of you. Hit it from the back very hard to the level that she is now feeling you deep emotionally and psychologically. She's groaning and moaning. Do not stop. And there is a certain point of time that you will feel that you are about to produce as a man. I want you to slow down. Slow down the process of stroking and start doing it nice and slow. It means you are managing the momentum, you are managing the atmosphere of sex. You are in control and in charge. And when that feeling of producing is decreased, start stroking faster again. And you take your wife back to that position again, whereby she'll be lying down, facing upwards. And you wife, you have to respond to your husband. There is a way that you're supposed to respond to your husband when your husband is stroking you. Do not just be a log. Do not just be a deactivated person whilst you're lying down there. Be active. Let your husband feel your movement. Let your husband feel challenged. Let your husband feel you lifting up your husband a bit whilst you are responding to your husband whilst he's stroking. This is the time that you have to spread your wife's legs almost 180 degrees, and then you start to stroke more deep and mercilessly this time, doing it a little bit rough. You can tell that this is the point of time that your wife is about to come, and then you start doing it nice and slow, stroking in, and as if you want to remove your whole penis out, but stroking in and out nice and slow. She will release a certain sound that signals that she's about to climax, to reach climax. And this is the point of time as a man that you have to stroke more deeper until your wife is climaxed. And at that very point of time that your wife is climaxed, you have programmed your sexual mind as a man that this is the right time for you to produce. Tell your wife that you are about to come, just as your wife has told you earlier that she's about to climax. Tell your wife that you are about to produce. You have a way of communicating during that deep emotional fantasy moment. It revives a romantic atmosphere. It revives a deep romantic feeling during sex. And finally, when you have produced as a man, do not just ejaculate and just go beside your wife very fast, just like that. Do it nice and slow, and just lie beside her while he's playing around with her breast teeth, wrapping her body. This is called love making, not just sex penetration. This is called the deep sexual lecture, the deep sex lecture in the spirit, the highest level of intimacy. So, people of God, if you are couples out there, I hope you have been listening to this massive presentation, which is a deep loving, a love making lecture that you have to follow every stage for you to have the greatest sexual intimacy. Until next time, have a great blessed day.